Alright, so my Google Docs finally decided to load and I found an old fanfiction that I wrote. I don't know when. I'd look at the statistics of it, but I'm lazy. All I know is that, wait, there's the details. It was created August 28th in 2015. And, the last time it was edited, I don't know who the hell Cassie is. But I wrote this on my my very old school Google Docs, and I shared it with my new one because when you're done with high school and all that, they destroy your account, or at least they did for me. Mine's gone. So I shared it to my other Google accounts so I could still access it in my adulthood, which probably wasn't a good idea. But this story is called A Fantastic Fanfiction, which I don't know how true that is, that it's fantastic. I probably wouldn't call it that. This is probably going to be a long reading. I haven't done this for years, so apologies if it's a little bit different or the audio is kind of weird. I'm doing this on my iPad, and it's the first time I've done this, like I said, in a long time. But there's 122 pages here. I'm probably not going to get through all of it tonight. But, honestly, if you guys enjoy it and have fun and listen, then I'll push through it. You can't read it anyway, so I guess you're just gonna have to listen to me read a fan fiction that I wrote in 2015, which is now 4 years ago, so I had to be 14. I was 14 when I wrote this. Chapter 1, Narrator's POV. After school, a girl, Taylor, and her friends Rania, River, Chloe, Isabel, Hunter, and Alex were walking home together. I can't believe I used to have friends. They were just messing around, like most teenagers do. They were walking through the trees, just hanging out and being random. Taylor's headphones were perched on her shoulders, the volume cranked all the way up so that our friends could hear the music too. Right now she was listening to Space Unicorn, soaring through the stars, delivering the rainbows all around the world. Taylor and River burst out singing, then laughed because they had started singing randomly at the exact same time. The others laughed a bit and they all smiled as they walked. As they walked, Taylor smiled and noticed a big sign. Hey, Hunter, you want to learn how to design games, right? Just go there for college, pointing to the ad sign for Full Sail University. He looked at the sign. It says it's in Florida, he sighed, sounding a bit hopeless. Oh no, there are online classes too. I plan on going there to learn how to animate and design digital art. The girl smiled cheerfully. She had learned about Full Sail thanks to a PewDiePie video that she had watched. Oh, that makes it a lot easier then, Hunter smiled slightly. She nodded and kept on watching ahead. Hey, just a thought, but who wants to go to the abandoned amusement park? Chloe chirped cheerfully. Taylor's eyes widened. The others gasped. The amusement park? The one that was closed down a decade ago? She exclaimed. Haven't you heard of the terrible stories of that place? Yeah, but come on, those stories are totally fake. I mean, come on. People going into the park and never coming back out? Chloe rolled her eyes. I bet you're all just chicken. Alex rolled his eyes. Ha. Chicken? Yeah, right, he muttered. I'll go just to prove I'm not a wussy. Hunter nodded. As long as I'm not the only guy who's going. This is a bad idea, Taylor thought. But of course, not wanting to be the party pooper, she agreed to go. The sun had begun to sink down towards the horizon, and by the time the group of friends arrived at the abandoned amusement park, Taylor stared past the gate, which was bent and rusted and old, and stared at the broken-down rides and abandoned game booths. It was like a real-life haunted house, but worse, because it was an amusement park that was told to be cursed. It was said that anything that went into the amusement park would never come back out. Are you guys sure about this? Rania asked. It's getting late, and my mom will be upset if I'm not home by 9, and I have homework to do. Oh, come on, this is gonna be fun, trust me, Chloe giggled, fiddling with the lock on the entry gate. The rusted old chain crashed to the ground with a thunderous rattle as Chloe found a way to get it off, and the gate creaked open. I don't know how she's a locksmith, but apparently she is. She just fucking opens that shit. So easy. Amazing. Taylor stared at the abandoned horror park, terror flooding her veins. It was scary as hell. The tunnel of love looked more like the scary tunnel of death. The Ferris wheel looked more like a doom wheel. Everything looked like it was dangerous. Chloe just skipped around like it was a magical land of happiness, unicorns, and sparkles. River looked excited. You know, this is exactly the kind of place a murderer would strike, she said, her voice showing her anticipation. Taylor's eyes widened, even more afraid. Don't say that! What if there's actually one around here? She exclaimed. She was completely convinced this place was cursed. Oh, you're just a scaredy cat, said Chloe, dancing over to the Tunnel of Love ride. Come on, let's go check it out, she called. Both Taylor and Rania looked at each other. They knew this was not a good idea. But everyone else ran after Chloe, so she followed after them. Wait for me, Taylor called. I'm the one who has the flashlight. She ran into the abandoned ride after her friends. She ran into the pitch darkness, unable to really see anything. She kept running. Where are you guys? Wait for me, she called out, afraid. She took out a flashlight from her pocket, but just as she did, she tripped over something. Dear God. She hit the ground, scraping her knee. Her flashlight flew from her hand and rolled away into the darkness. Ow! She whimpered and pushed herself up, brushing herself off. She couldn't see anything but darkness. She tried to get up, but her knee stung. Tap, 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 tap. Footsteps. That's not what footsteps sound like. Wow. Like, yeah, okay. Good English. I'm good at this. I think it sounds more like tap, 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 tap. Footsteps coming from the entrance of the tunnel. Everyone else was further into the ride. No one had been behind her, except for Rania, who had run ahead to catch up with the others, Taylor was sure. She couldn't even hear her friends' voices anymore. Her head swiveled around to the direction of the footsteps. Tap, 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 tap. She scrambled in the darkness, trying to find her flashlight. She felt the cold metal of the light against her hand and quickly snatched it, turning it on. She swung around to the sound of footsteps, flashing her light on the area, but she didn't see anything. A tingling sensation brushed across her back as a cold breeze crept through the tunnel. She shivered and turned around and stood up, beginning her trek down the tunnel to find her friends. Suddenly there was a loud scream. Ee! It was one of Taylor's friends. She gasped and ran after the sound. Her friends were in danger. As she was running through the tunnel of death, she couldn't help but feel extremely creeped out. She slowed her pace to walk. If there was danger, she didn't want to just go running blindly into it. She walked around a corner in the tunnel and suddenly she bumped into something. She groaned and shined the light on the thing she had bumped into, but it turned out that it was someone that she had bumped into. All she saw at first was a gray-brown color, but as she looked up, she saw that it was in fact a person. Her eyes widened in fear of how tall he was, and she took a step back as he turned his gaze to her, revealing his face. He had orange goggles over his eyes, short brown hair, and some sort of mask on the lower half of his face, which hid his mouth from view. He twitched and turned around fully as Taylor kept backing away. Who are you? Taylor asked, her voice shaky and high-pitched and full of fear. The boy twitched again and held up a sharp, shiny hatchet. I guess I'm just gonna kill you anyway. My name is Toby. Ticky Toby. Taylor giggled nervously. That was a James Bond reference, wasn't it? She gasped as her back pressed against the wall, her eyes wide with fear. Toby shrugged. Yeah, I suppose it was. Time to die. He rushed at her with his hatchets. Taylor let out a terrified screech and dodged as one of the hatchets swung through the air, just barely missing her. She was short enough that she could slip around him and make a run for it. Toby grunted, annoyed, and spun around, giving chase. Taylor knew it wouldn't be long until he caught up. She desperately looked for something to hit him with and found an old crowbar laying in the middle of the rubble. She picked it up and spun around, Toby dashing at her again, ready to kill her with a swift swing of his hatchets. She just barely dodged his hatchets again and hit him in the face with the crowbar. Thwack! Taylor backed away. Toby was completely unaffected. He twitched. You're silly. I can't feel pain, he chuckled, kicking her legs out from under her, slamming her to the ground. The crowbar hit the ground with a clang, and he kicked it away into the darkness. Taylor gasped in pain, the air knocked out of her. Toby slammed down his foot on her back, holding her down. Just hold still. You're being annoying as hell, Toby growled. Taylor tried to regain her breath, gasping for air. Toby tilted his head at her. Too bad I caught you so soon. I was actually kind of having fun. he said as if he were disappointed. Taylor recovered and quickly rolled over, grabbing Toby's leg. Hey, what do you think you... Ah! Taylor flipped him, throwing him to the ground with all of her strength. He slammed into the ground. Even though Taylor knew he couldn't feel pain, it was obvious the breath was knocked out of him. She spun around on her feet, running deeper into the tunnel. She kept running, not even knowing where she was going, and stumbled here and there. She didn't want to stop running, her heart beating in her chest like a sledgehammer. She kept running until she suddenly saw light ahead, and she was out of the tunnel. Where were her friends? They were nowhere to be seen. Gone. Just like that. That's the end of this chapter. Beautiful. Tasty. Delicious.